Childhood obesity is on the rise. We'll be discussing that with a medical doctor who is a pediatric cardiologist specializing in caring for fetuses, infants, children, and adolescents. Later in the program, I'll be chatting with Abiola Gomes, who has just returned to New York after 20 years with the Air Force. But we begin with childhood obesity. Dr. Sarita Dhuper, welcome to Brooklyn 45.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm so happy to be here.
Childhood obesity is on the rise. It's all over the news. Why is this so?
There are many reasons, Sam, about this, and I've been struggling with this problem myself in Brooklyn for the past 20 years. We spoke about this a few years ago, and the problem seems to be getting worse. And the major reason is what we can term as epigenetics. What does that mean? Is the human body itself tends to store fat because that's the protective mechanism for evolution, and we have to protect ourselves over the years. So most of us have those genes which can help us store fat, but that was supposed to be an environment of scarcity, when there were less calories, when there were droughts, when there was danger. But environment has changed so rapidly in the last 40 years that those genes, they do not suit the human body anymore. So as you see the numbers rising, it's not the genes, it's the environment which is making these genes act differently and forcing you to store fat when you don't need to store fat. We were supposed to store fat when we needed it. Now we store fat when we don't need it. That's one of the major reasons.
Okay, what's one other major reason? Because I'm going to ask you a question about, does society have anything to do with all this?
Exactly. Because I said environment. Society is part of the environment we live in. So the major contributor is the environment and is our society. Because what's changed in the last 40 years is the way we live. We don't need to exercise. We can eat anytime. We have Grubhub, we have Uber Eats, we can order. We don't even have to move from our bed. So definitely society has changed. But you have to understand that the reason why we are gaining weight so rapidly is that body cannot control our weight anymore. We had the control mechanisms in place when there was not enough food. But now there's always enough food and too much food. And so unfortunately, the children are getting victimized by this.
What can parents do to help?
Parents are frustrated. Parents are confused. Parents do not get the right knowledge. Parents blame themselves. So first I would tell them, please don't blame yourself. Understand the problem. First, understand what's happening, how society has changed. As you just mentioned, the environment is very obesogenic. We call it obesogenic. It promotes weight gain. Understand that you have to prevent weight gain from early childhood. Once you gain weight, most of the time, it's very, very difficult to lose it. So parents have to understand these kids, they're susceptible to obesity, especially in today's world. So keep them active from an early age. Make sure they start eating home food, fruits and vegetables. Most of our kids don't eat any fruits and vegetables. It's a must. It's a must that they eat a fruit at every meal and prevent obesity. Once the obesity sets in, it's a progressive disease.
There appears to be this abandonment of family meal time. Now we have parents having their own food time, and we have kids having their own food time. How dangerous is that?
I think it's very sad. I think you're absolutely right when bringing this up. Society has changed. We're eating at all odd hours. There are no family meal times. There's no 3 meals. Snacking is on the rise. These children are snacking constantly. They're missing breakfast. There's no family conversation. There's only screen time. They're sitting with their phones. and they're munching all the time. So I feel it's very sad. It's dangerous. It's leading to a lot of depression. It's leading to mood disorders, not only obesity. There's no connectivity left within the families. You see the kids in the offices, sometimes they're tuned out. They're looking at their phones, and the only comfort they have is their phones and the food. So I feel unless we all take a stance at this with as a society, and parents and doctors and people like you and the media, we're not going to make a dent.
The microwave is an enemy these days. A lot of the foods we eat are microwavable. So we buy these foods at the supermarket,
Yeah.
and we put them in the microwave. And there are certain types of food that we shouldn't be putting into the microwave. Talk about these types of foods.
I think all processed foods, which are high in fat and sugar in general, anything which comes out from a package where you have to put in a microwave is unhealthy. They're not only, they've got these fats and the sugar content, they also degenerate in the microwave. So they become oxidized. So some of these fats get oxidized, and they're dangerous for the heart vessels. They also lead to pancreatic damage, and they can lead to diabetes. So these are the toxins which we are inhaling and putting in our body. So eat fresh fruits, eat fresh vegetables. I know people say you have to eat organic, but you can't afford organic all the time. So you get whatever you can. Local farmer markets are great. We have many of them in Brooklyn. We have those green carts. The city is doing a lot to provide these resources. Do not use the microwave as your go-to friend all the time. Use fresh fruits and vegetables and be creative. Learn new recipes. Parents should learn new recipes and be creative for their kids.
And the kids should stay away from these foods that I've been hearing about, Hot Pockets and
Exactly.
The French toast sticks. And
Yep.
Kids eat a lot of cereal too. A lot of cereal.
That's not good at all. You're right, because cereal is all starch and all processed starch. It says no added sugar, but remember, corn and all flour converts to sugar in the blood. So I always tell my families, it's like white bread. It's not sugar, but the white bread is all processed starch. It goes into sugar in the blood. Similarly, whether it's cornflakes or it's Cheerios, it all raises the blood sugar. And that makes you produce more insulin, and that makes you more hungry. So the more processed starch you eat, the hungrier you get. And the hungrier you get, you store more fat. So it becomes a vicious cycle. That also leads to cravings and addictions. So it's better to eat an old-fashioned meal like an egg and toast, or a piece of a small cup of milk, an apple, rather than eating these big bowls of cereal, because it's all ultimately it converts to sugar.
School lunches. I don't want you to be critical of the schools, but the lunches that are served to these kids in school, are they the healthiest lunches?
I had done actually a research or investigation. I'd gone and spoken to the school. I'd seen all this nutrition in detail. And to tell you the truth, it is nutritious. They have to follow guidelines. They have to give the certain amount of protein. They have to give you a certain amount of carbohydrates, fruits and vegetables. Unfortunately, the food which is served is not that fresh, because it has to be made in bulk. So they have to prepare it. It doesn't look appealing to the kids. Some of the fruits and vegetables are there, and you know how fruits and vegetables spoils very fast. Some of the kind of foods they serve is like pizza, even though the cheese may be a different kind of cheese and the base may be a different kind of base. It's not appealing to the kids. So many of them don't eat the school lunch because they don't like it. So the school lunch, I won't say it's unhealthy, it's not appealing.
And the bodegas don't help. A lot of the bus stops where kids stand waiting on the bus to go home, there's a bodega probably next to it. And when you walk into the bodega, they have all these sweet things to the front. Even in the supermarkets, they've got all these sweets to the front of the supermarket, and the kids go into the supermarkets with their kids, and you hear some of them saying, "Mommy, I want this. Mommy, I want that."
Of course. So we come back to where we started. Society has changed. Marketing strategies are on the rise. Everybody needs to make money. So these are the things which sell. So you obviously the stores, the bodegas, the supermarkets, they're going to put these things right out there. It's not their fault. Everything is a business. So a business, I keep telling the parents, we are the victims of these business companies. So you have to inform your children, and you have to take them, you have to do the grocery, and you have to know where to take them. You introduce them to farmers markets, take them to the natural parks, take them biking, take them out, take them to look at the documentaries, show them things which are natural, nature. Why are we taking them to only these kinds of stores all the time? Because that's what is going to happen. And then you cannot blame a child if they look at the chips, or they look at crackers, or they look at, donuts. They're going to want to eat it. It's a human instinct to want to have something sweet. So, it's a vicious cycle.
How do we get parents to understand that they've got a greater responsibility? And what have you been doing with parents?
I see a lot of severe obesity because I'm an obesity medicine specialist. Apart from being a pediatric cardiologist, I'm an obesity medicine specialist, and I have this program called Live Light, Live Right for the last 20 years, where it's a non-for-profit, where we really help children and parents understand that severe obesity, again, I'm not going to use the term mild because some people are a little overweight. Everybody's body is not, perfect. But severe obesity, when you're 250, 300 pounds as a child, that is a disease. And the number two thing I tell the parent, it is not their fault. It is not the child's fault, but it's important for them to understand what's going on. Just like you treat asthma, just like you treat high blood pressure, just like you treat diabetes, you have to treat obesity. You have to understand there's certain things you can eat and there's certain things you cannot eat. You have to make your rules for the home. You have to make the rules for yourself. The kids follow the parents, right? If the parents are eating unhealthy, if the parents are not exercising, if the parents are buying the groceries, bad groceries, the grandparents, then things are not going to work. So understand the disease, try to limit it in small doses, change small, make small steps, get help. And if that doesn't work, then be open to looking at strategies like using medication or even surgery. If your child is getting to 300 pounds, then we have now new medications. It's a revolution going on because we do have medications to treat weight. So treat weight as a disease when it is severe.
Would you say that obesity has become an addiction?
I would say the food has become an addiction. Food has become an addiction, which is causing obesity. Most of these kids are addicted to food and to screen time, both two addictions. So they're not able to walk or exercise. They're very, very, very sedentary. And that's a huge problem. So the screen time, the phone has become an addiction, and the food has become an addiction. And that's causing the genes to keep turning around and changing the way they can store fat. The human body, these genes are being propagated to store more and more and more fat. And that's becoming a disease. So obesity is becoming a disease, and the food and the phone is the addiction.
Disease on the one hand, addiction on the other hand, leading to obesity.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about the organization that you mentioned earlier, Live Light.
Live Right.
Live Right. And that's a SUNY program, I understand.
Well, it's an independent program. It's also run at SUNY, but it's independent, which I was a founder of this about, as I said, 20 years ago. So I have a branch at SUNY, but I have a couple of branches. Office hours are open on Saturdays and late evenings, where we actually meet with parents. We educate them. We do the full medical evaluation. They get free exercise classes with our trainer. They get free nutritional counseling. They get cooking counseling, cooking classes, and whatever resources they need for managing their obesity, we do it. We also follow them long term and look at outcomes and who's doing well and who's not doing, what works, what doesn't work, and we keep changing our strategy as the research changes.
How do parents get in touch with you?
We have our website. It's Live Light, Live Right. We are at Downstate. If you go through Downstate, you can come to clinic there. And if you want to come to the other clinic, which is a private clinic or the Live Light clinic, it's on Eastern Parkway. And our address and our phone numbers are on the website. They can easily get it. It's livelightliveриght.org.
You said that a lot of the kids are not exercising. They're staying at home. And we hear on the news every day about crime. We even hear stories of kids with guns, taking guns to school. Does this increase in crime play a role in obesity?
Yes, it does, because especially in our neighborhood, parents are very, very scared to send their children out to exercise, and they keep them home. A lot of kids complain they're kept home. So we have done a hybrid version in our program. We have classes on Zoom where the exercise trainer comes in and trains them on Zoom, and the class is very effective. Plus we have in-person classes where they could go and work out with the trainer. There are also a lot of free classes, like from the BRC, we have the St. John's. A lot of New York City Parks and Recreation is very close in their neighborhood and they're safe, and the families can go and get free membership. I think an adult should accompany the kids till they're teenagers, and they should go in groups. They should not go alone. They should always be in groups, but that definitely work out at home. Use your YouTube videos, use your block steps to go up and down. Do something, but just keep moving. Don't just sit. There's no excuse to not move.
That's a message that we have to get to both parents and to the kids. And as you said earlier, some kids take examples from their parents.
Exactly. So everybody should be moving. Walking is the best way, climbing steps, just taking breaks throughout the day from your sedentary life and learning how to eat right.
And people like me who spend hours and hours and hours sitting in front of a computer, talk to people like me who do this, and we worry about our tummies getting larger.
Get up and move every half an hour. Get up and move. If you cannot get out from your desk, at least do some jumping jacks, move up and down, do some stretching in your yoga on your chair. There are many ways of getting active, even getting a stretching band, getting light dumbbells under your desk. Use something, but keep moving.
Specialists, doctors like yourself, what type of doctors should parents be taking their kids to?
That's a very good question. There are not enough obesity medicine specialists, but that's become a new specialty over the last 10 years. Now there are pediatricians and family medicine doctors who are trained in obesity medicine, like I am. So if you can find an obesity medicine specialist, that's great. If not, then some people go to endocrinologists who can help them. But it's tough. There are not many doctors who are trained in this area. So they have to have their pediatricians help them out. And we do trainings for the pediatricians.
Dr. Sarita Dhuper, thank you for being on Brooklyn 45 and giving our viewers the information that you have presented to them. You are also an obesity specialist, so they should be listening to you very seriously. Again, thank you for being on Brooklyn 45 and for the information that you've provided.
Happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I hope everybody listens to this and learns something. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sarita Dhuper. And now I'm going to have a very special guest who is sitting right in front of me, and she is smiling all over. Her name is Abiola Gomes, and I've known Abiola for many years, and I'm not going to tell you how many years, except that she was my student many years ago. But Abiola, you've just returned to New York. What made you decide to join the Air Force 20 years ago? And why didn't you join the Army and the Navy and the Marines? Tell us about all that.
Hello, Sam. Thank you for having me. So I joined the Air Force many years ago because I didn't have the finances to do a master's degree, and I really wanted to get a master's degree in television and radio production. The Air Force was offering free education, so I joined. And of course, my parents said not the Army, not the Marines, it has to be the Air Force. So everything else is a blur.
You said that you did not have the degree that you wanted, but you have an advanced degree. You have a master's degree. So tell us about the degrees that you have and this degree that you didn't think would get you the position in the Air Force that you wanted.
Well, it's not so much in the Air Force, but a position in Brooklyn, in New York, to be in television and radio production.
That's your first love.
That's my first love, yes, television and radio production. I do have a associate's degree in television and radio production management, and I have a bachelor's degree in television and radio production.
And your bachelor's degree is from Brooklyn College?
Yes, it is. And the associate's degree is from Kingsborough Community College.
But you have an advanced degree. You have a master's degree. Tell us about this degree.
I do have a master's degree in public administration, and it's from Central Michigan University.
Tell us about all the things that you did in the Air Force.
So in the Air Force, my job was specifically a material manager. And basically what we did was ensure that all the aircrafts on whatever base you're on is taken care of. Have the parts ready to go when they're grounded.
What would you say have been the greatest change in you after 20 years in the Air Force?
The greatest change in me after the Air Force was my leadership experience. Going into the Air Force, I definitely had a little bit of it, but it wasn't as profound as it is today. And I'm very grateful for that experience.
Would encourage your friends and your relatives to go? Of course,
I will encourage anyone. Air Force first.
Air Force first. You've traveled a lot. Tell us some of the places you have traveled to.
I have traveled to many places, Sam, and my favorite of all would probably be Egypt, then followed by Australia, and of course for international travels. And I did a lot of local travels also. I recently went to Barbados. It's exciting there.
Talk about Barbados in a second, but what was exciting about Egypt?
So Egypt, first off, I feel that you have to do Egypt in maybe a month or 2 months. It's lots of information, lots of history. I like to say information overload. And I spent a week in Egypt and it was not enough. But it's a very lovely place, very solid in history. And if anyone didn't go there, they should get the chance to go.
I saw you at a town hall meeting that the Barbados Prime Minister had, and it was such a pleasure to see you there. The Barbados Prime Minister, you talked about Barbados. So tell us about your Barbados experiences.
So I had a great experience in Barbados. I felt a sense of community being in Barbados. Everyone was so nice, so accommodating. And I would specifically like to thank Wendy, Jan, Donna, and my cousin, Calissa, for entertaining me while I was there.
They're going to be watching this program.
They certainly will be.
Very briefly, you talked about the seawater in Barbados.
It was absolutely amazing. I could see my toes, and that's all that matters.
You could see your toes.
Yes, sir.
And you heard the term cheese dawn bread.
I certainly did. I'm not sure I can say what it means, but I did.
You've mentioned to me that you're probably going to be moving out of Brooklyn. A lot of people are moving away from Brooklyn. Why would you move away from Brooklyn?
First off, Sam, I've been away from Brooklyn for over 20 years. So obviously, I have had some very good experiences being out of Brooklyn, and I choose to settle in some of those locations other than Brooklyn for space, for cost of living, etc.
And have you thought about where you would want to go?
So far, it's a toss-up between Texas, where I currently have property, Florida, and maybe Atlanta.
And you didn't say maybe Barbados.
Barbados is definitely a plus. That's for vacation.
That's vacation.
Yeah.
That's your vacation home.
Yes, and not to forget my country, Guyana. I'm definitely can't forget Guyana.
No, you can't.
Yes.
Abiola, it is such a pleasure seeing you again. It's a pleasure hearing from you. You have now retired from the Air Force, and we want to congratulate you on your 20 years in the Air Force. And we wish you success in everything that you do going forward.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for having me, and thanks to your team. May you
And
guys
go on.
May you have success in your Brooklyn 45 career.
Okay, and you don't look as though you were in the Air Force for 20 years. You don't even look 20.
But I certainly was.
Okay. Again, thank you very much, Abiola, for being on Brooklyn 45.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your night, your evening.
Thank you, Abiola Gomes. And thank you, Dr. Sarita Dhuper, for the information that you provided. Our viewers will benefit from that information. On behalf of our Brooklyn 45 team, I am Sam Taitt.
Brooklyn 45 is a 501c3 not-for-profit, and we welcome your support. Check out our website, brooklyn45.com, and feel free to donate or share it with your friends and family. Have any comments or questions? Send them to our Facebook, facebook.com/brooklyn45tv. If you have any questions or topics you think we should cover next, shoot me an email over at brooklyn45tv@gmail.com. Thank you again for watching.